The T-64 is a Soviet main battle tank introduced in the early 1960s. It was a more advanced counterpart to the T-62. The T-64 served tank divisions, while the T-62 supported infantry and motor rifle divisions. Although the T-62 and the famous T-72 would see much wider use and generally more development, it was the T-64 that formed the basis of more modern Soviet tank designs, such as the T-80. Overview: the T-64 was conceived in Kharkiv, Ukraine as the next-generation main battle tank by Alexander A. Morozov, the designer of the T-54. A revolutionary feature of the T-64 is the incorporation of an automatic loader for its 125mm gun, allowing one crew member's position to be omitted and helping to keep the size and weight of the tank down. Tank troopers would joke that the designers had finally caught up with their unofficial hymn, Three Tankers a Euro. The song had been written to commemorate the crewmen fighting in the Battle of Kharkhin Gol, in three-man BT-5 tanks in 1939. The T-64 also pioneered other Soviet tank technology. The T-64A model of 1967 introduced the 125mm smoothbore gun, and the T-64B of 1976 would be able to fire a guided anti-tank missile through its gun barrel. The T-64 design was further developed as the gas turbine-powered T-80 main battle tank. The turret of the T-64B would be used in the improved T-80U and T-80UD, and an advanced version of its diesel engine would power the T-80UD and T-84 tanks built in the Ukraine. The T-64 would only be used by the Soviet Army and never exported, unlike the T-54 55ths. It was superior to these tanks in most qualitative terms, until the introduction of the T-72B model in 1985. The tank equipped elite and regular formations in Eastern Europe and elsewhere, the T-64A model being first deployed with East Germany's group of Soviet forces in Germany in 1976, and sometime later in Hungary's southern group of forces. By 1981, the improved T-64B began to be deployed in East Germany and later in Hungary. While it was believed that the T-64 was only reserved for elite units, it was also used by much lower non-ready formations, for example, the Odessa Military District's 14th Army. With the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991, T-64 tanks remained in the arsenals of the constituent republics. Currently, slightly fewer than 2,000 of the old Soviet inventory of T-64 tanks are in service with the military of Ukraine and about 4,000 are out of service and awaiting destruction in Russia. Development history: the initial requirement, recognizing that the T-55 per ton 62 lineage had finally exhausted its potential for improvement, the USSR embarked on the development of an entirely new tank design that could defeat new Western tanks like the British Chieftain and resist new Western anti-tank weapons. Object 430. Studies for the design of a new battle tank started as early as 1951. The KB-60M team was formed at the Kharkiv Design Bureau of the Kharkiv Transport Machine Building Factory No. 75 named for Melishov by engineers coming back from Nizhny Tagil, with A. Morozov at its head. A project named Obyekt 430 gave birth to 3 prototypes, which were tested in Kubinka in 1958. Those vehicles showed characteristics that were going to radically change the design of battle tanks on this side of the Iron Curtain. For the first time, an extremely compact opposed piston engine was used, the 4TD, designed by the plant's engine design team. The transmission system comprised 2 lateral gears on each side of the engine. Those 2 innovations yielded a very short engine compartment with the opening located beneath the turret. The engine compartment volume was almost half that of the T-54. The cooling system was extracting and a new lightweight suspension was fitted, featuring hollow metallic wheels of a small diameter and caterpillar tracks with rubber joints. The tank would be armed with the D-54TS and frontal armor of 120 ohm. As it did not present a clear superiority in terms of combat characteristics when compared to the T-55, which was entering active service, Morozov decided that production was not yet ready given the project's drawbacks. However, studies conducted on the Obyekt 430U, featuring a 122 ohm gun and 160 ohm of armor, demonstrated that the tank had the potential to fit the firepower and armor of a heavy tank onto a medium tank chassis. A new project was consequently started, Object 432. Object 432, the gun fitted on this new tank was a powerful 115 ohm D-68. This was a potentially risky decision to replace the human loader by an electro-hydraulic automatic system, since the technology was new to Russian designers. The crew was reduced to 3, which allowed an important reduction in internal volume and external visible silhouette, and consequently in weight, from 36 tons to 30.5 tons. The height dropped by 76 ohm. However, the arrival of the British 105mm L7 gun and the US M68 variant of it, fitted respectively to the Centurion and M60 tanks, forced the team to undertake another audacious premiere, with the adoption of composite armor. The recently created process was called K-combination by Western armies. This protection consisted of an aluminium alloy layer between two high-strength steel layers. As a consequence, the weight of the prototype rose eventually to 34 tons. But, as the engine was now a 700 HP 5 TDF, its mobility remained excellent, far superior to the active T-62. The Object 432 was ready in September 1962 and production started in October 1963 in the Kharkiv plant. On December 30, 1966, it entered service as the T-64. T-64A. Even as the first T-64s were rolling off the assembly lines, the design team was working on a new version, named Object 434, which would allow it to maintain firepower superiority. The brand new and very powerful 125 ohm D81T gun, from the Perm Weapons factory, was fitted to the tank. This gun was merely a scaled-up version of the 115 ohm smoothbore cannon from the T-62. The larger size of the 125 ohm ammunition meant that less could be carried inside the T-64, and with the fourth crewman loader taking up space as well, the tank would only have a 25-round capacity. This was unacceptably low for the Soviet designers, but strict dimensional parameters forbade them from enlarging the tank to increase interior space. The solution was to replace the human loader with a mechanical autoloader, cutting the crew to 3 and marking the first use of autoloaders in a Soviet MBT. Perret 1987-42, the 6x10 autoloader has 28 rounds and can fire 8 shots per minute. The stabilizer, a 2E23, was coupled to the new TPD-2-1 sight. Night driving was also adapted with a new TPN-1-43A periscope, which would benefit from the illumination of a powerful infrared L2G projector, fitted on the left side of the gun. The shielding was improved, with fiberglass replacing the aluminium alloy in the armor, and small spring-mounted plates fitted along the mud guards, to cover the top of the suspension and the side tanks. They were, however, extremely fragile and were often removed. Some small storage spaces were created along the turret, with a compartment on the right and 3 boxes on the front left. Schnorkels were mounted on the rear of the turret. An NBC protection system was fitted and the hatches were widened. Prototypes were tested in 1966 and 1967 and, as production began after the 600th T-64, it entered service in the Soviet Army under the designation T-64A. Chief Engineer Alexander Morozov was awarded the Lenin Prize for this model's success. Designed for elite troops, the T-64A was constantly updated as available equipment was improved. After only 3 years in service, a first modernization occurred, regarding fire control, by replacing the sights with the TPD-2-49 sight with an optical coincidence rangefinder and a TPN-1-49-23 night sight, and stabilization by mounting a 2E26 system. The radio by mounting a 123M, night vision with a TBN-4PA for the driver and a TNP-165A for the tank leader. His battle post was transformed by mounting a small stabilized turret with an anti-aircraft NSVT 12.70 X-108 machine gun, electrically guided through an optical PZU-5 sight, and fed with 300 rounds. it could be used from within the tank so that the tank leader could avoid being exposed. The possibility of mounting a KMT-6 anti-mine system was also added. A derived version appeared at the same time, designed for the commanding officer and named T-64AK. It comprised a 130M radio with a 10M telescopic antenna, which could be used only in a static position as it required shrouds, an artillery aiming circle PAB-2AM and TNA-3 navigation station. All of these could be powered by an auxiliary gasoline-fired generator. In 1976, the weapons system was improved by mounting a D-81TM, stabilized by a 2E-28M2, supplied by an automatic 6S-10M. The night sight was replaced by a TNPA-65 and the engine could accept different fuels, including diesel fuel, kerosene or gasoline. The production, first carried on the B variant, stopped in 1980. But the majority of T-64s were still modernized after 1981, by mounting a 6-smoke grenade launcher 810902A on each side of the gun, and by replacing the gill plates by a rubber skirt for a longer life. Some of them seem to have been fitted after 1985 with reactive bricks, or even with laser TPDK1 telemeters instead of the optical TPD2-49 optical coincidence rangefinder, 1981. Almost all T-64s were modernized into T-64R, between 1977 and 1981, by reorganizing external storage and snorkels, similar to the T-64A, T-64B. The design team was carrying on its work on new versions. Problems with the setup of the 5TDF engine occurred as the local production capacity was proven to be insufficient against a production done in 3 factories. From 1961, an alternative to the Orbiect 432 was studied, with 12V-cylinder V45 engine near the Orbiect 436. 3 prototypes were tested in 1966 in the Chelyabinsk factory. The order to develop a model derived from the 434 with the same engine gave the Orbiect 438, later renamed as Orbiect 439. 4 tanks of this type were built and tested in 1969, which showed the same mobility as the production version, but mass production was not started. They served however as a basis for the design of the T-72 engine compartment. In the beginning of the 1970s, the design team was trying to improve the tank further. The T-64A2M study in 1973, with its more powerful engine and its reinforced turret, served as a basis for 2 projects: a Orbiect 476 with a 6TD-1000 HP engine which served as a model for the T-80 combat compartment. Orbiect 447 which featured a new fire control with a laser telemeter, and which was able to fire missiles through the gun. For the latter, the order was given to start its production under the name T-64B, as well as a derived version, the Orbiect 437, without the missile guidance system for cost reasons. The latter was almost twice as much produced under the designation T-64B1. On September 3, 1976, the T-64B and the T-64B1 were declared good for the service, featuring the improved D-81TM gun with a 2E26M stabilizer, a 6S40 loader and a 1A33 fire control, including a 1V517 ballistic calculator, a 1G21 sight with laser telemetry, a 1B11 crosswind sensor. Its forward capacity reaches 1.8 m without equipment. The T-64B had the ability to fire the new 9M112 Cobra radio-guided missile. The vehicle then carries 8 missiles and 28 shells. The missile control system is mounted in front of the tank leader's small turret and has many changes. The T-64B1 carries only 37 shells and has 2007.62 on rounds, against 1,250 for the T-64B. They were modernized in 1981 by the replacement of the gun by a 2A46M1, the stabilizer by a 2E42, and the mounting of a 902A Toucher 1 smoke grenade launcher in 2 groups of 4, on each side of the gun. 2 command versions are realized, very similar to the T-64AK, the T-64BK and the T-64B1K. The decision, in October 1979, to start the production of the 6TD engine, and its great similarity with the 5TDF engine, allowed after some study to fit it in versions B and B1, but also A and AK, yielding the new models T-64AM, T-64AKM, T-64BM and T-64 Bosnia and Herzegovina convertible marker, entering service in 1983. The production ended in 1987 for all versions. The total production has reached almost 13,000. Modernizations in Ukraine. After the dissolution of the USSR, Ukraine carried on the development of T-64 modernizations, as the original and main factory was in this country. Two programs ended in 1999, T-64BM2, with a 57 DFM 850 horsepower engine, a new 1A43U fire control, a new 6X43 loader and the possibility to fire the 9M119 missile. T-64U, which integrated on top the 1A45 fire control, PNK4SU and TKN4S optics for the tank commander and PZU-7 for the AA machine gun. The tank leader is then able to drive the tank and to use the gun directly if needed. Contact 5 armor added, few prototypes build. The two variants are also protected by Contact 5 modular reactive armor, able to resist a kinetic energy projectiles, as opposed to the first models which were efficient only against heat-shaped charge ammunition. Those two variants could also be remotorized with the 6TDF 1000 HP engine. T-64 BMBULAT Ukrainian Army on-use modernization. The designs incorporate the KNOZH reactive armor that offers better performance dealing with tandem warheads than Russian Contact 5, new Ukrainian-made 125mm GUNKBA-3, TO1K01E night sight and capable to fire the Ukrainian-made missile combat with tandem warhead. As of October 2011, Ukrainian Army has 76 T-64 BMBULAT, TH-64 Thaho TH Unflorin TH-N in service. In 2010, the Kharkiv Militia factory upgraded 10 T-64B tanks to T-64 BMBULAT standard, and a further 19 will be delivered in 2011. These 29 tanks are being upgraded under a 200 million hryvnia contract signed in April 2009. The T-64B, TH-64 tanks were originally produced at Kharkiv in 1980. According to Konstantin Isyak, the T-64 BMBULAT is armored to the level of modern tanks. They have knife, TH-th paragraph reactive armor, and the water, TH-N Euro and TH active defense system. The T-64 BMBULAT weighs 45 tons, and with its 850 HP 5TDFM multi-fuel diesel engine can do 70 km/h, and has a range of 385 km. It retains the 125 smoothbore gun with an autoloader for 28 rounds, some of which can be guided missiles. It has a 12.7 AA machine gun, and a 7.62 coaxial machine gun. Production history. The T-64 first entered production in 1967, shortly before the T-72 template. Clarification needed. The T-64 was KMDB's high-technology offering, intended to replace the IS-3 and T-10 heavy tanks in independent tank battalions. Meanwhile, the T-72 was intended to supersede the T-55 and T-62 in equipping the bulk of the Soviet tank and mechanized forces, as well as for export partners and East Bloc satellite states. It introduced a new autoloader, which is still used on all T-64s currently in service, as well as all variants of the T-80 except the Ukrainian T-84-120. The T-64 prototypes had the same 115 smoothbore gun as the T-62, the ones put in full-scale production had the 125 gun. While the T-64 was the superior tank, it was more expensive and physically complex, and was produced in smaller numbers. The T-72 is mechanically simpler and easier to service in the field, while it is not as well protected, and its manufacturing process is correspondingly simpler. In light of Soviet doctrine, the relatively small numbers of the superior T-64 were kept ready and reserved for the most important mission, a potential outbreak of a war in Europe. In Soviet times, T-64 was mostly in service with units stationed in East Germany. No T-64s were exported. Many T-64s ended up in Russian and Ukrainian service after the breakup of the Soviet Union. Models: Objekt 430, a Euro prototype with D-10T 100mm gun, 120 armor, 4 TPD 580 HP engine, 36 tons. Objekt 430U, a Euro project, equipped with a 122mm gun and 160 of armor. T-64 or Objekt 432, a Euro prototype with a D-68 115mm gun, then initial production version with the same features, about 600 tanks produced. T-64 or Objekt 432 are a Euro redesign between 1977 and 1981 with external gear from the T-64A but still with the 115mm gun. T-64A or Objekt 434, a Euro 125mm gun, a Euro OE-GIL, a Euro armor skirts, a modified sight, and suspension on the fourth road wheel. T-64T, a Euro experimental version with a GTD3TL 700 HP gas turbine. Objekt 436, a Euro alternative version of Objekt 432 with a V45 engine. 3 built. Objekt 438 and Objekt 439, a Euro Objekt 434 with V45 diesel engine. T-64AK or Objekt 446, a Euro command version, with a 130M radio and its 10AM telescoping antenna, a TNA-3 navigation system, without anti-aircraft machine gun, carrying 38 rounds of main gun ammunition. Objekt 447, a Euro prototype of the T-64B. Basically a T-64A fitted with a 9K112 Cobra system and a 1G21 gun sight. This is the T-64A displayed in the Kiev Museum. T-64B or Objekt 447A, a Euro fitted with redesigned armor, 1A33 fire control system, 9K112-1 Cobra ATGM system, TPN 1-49-23 sight, 2A46-2 gun, 2E26M stabilizer and 6X40 loader. Later BBV models have more modern systems: 1A33-1, TPN 3-49, 2E42 and a 2A46M1 gun. From 1985 the T-64B was fitted with stronger glacis armor. Older tanks were upgraded with a 16mm armor plate. Tanks, equipped with a 1000 HP 6DT engine are known as T-64BM. T-64BV, a Euro features Contact 1 reactive armor and Toucher 81mm smoke grenade launchers on the left of the turret. T-64BM2 or Objekt 447AM2, a Euro Contact 5 reactive armor, rubber protection skirts, 1A43U fire control, 6X43 loader and able to fire the 9K119 missile, 5 TDFM 850 HP engine. T-64U, BM Bulat, or Objekt 447AM1, a Euro-Ukrainian modernization, bringing the T-64B to the standard of the T-84. Fitted with NOZH reactive armor, 9K120 reflex missile, 1A45 Irtish fire control, TKN-4S commander sight, PZU-7 anti-aircraft machine gun sight, TPN-4E Buran E night vision, 6 TDF 1000 horsepower engine. T-64B1 or Objekt 437, a Euro same as the B without the fire control system, carrying 37 shells. T-64B1M, a Euro T-64 bar equipped with a 1000 horsepower 6DT engine. T-64BK and T-64B1K or Objekt 446B, a Euro command versions, with an R130M radio and its 10M telescoping antenna, a TNA-3 navigation system and AB1P/30 APU, without anti-aircraft machine gun, carrying 28 shells. Objekt 476, a Euro 5 prototypes with the 6 TDF engine, prototypes for T-80UD development. BREM-64 or Objekt 447T, a Euro armored recovery vehicle with a light 2.5-ton crane, dozer blade, tow bars, welding equipment, etc. only a small number was built. T-55-64 a Euro heavily upgraded T-55 with a complete hull and chassis of the T-64, fitted with Contact 1 ERA. Prototype, T-80 and T-84 a Euro further developments of the T-64. Modernizations, T-64, 1977 a Euro 1981 a Euro brought to the T-64 as standard. Reorganization of external equipment is on the T-64A, T-64A Alaska, 1972 redesign, fire control improvement, inclusion of the NSVT machine gun on an electrical turret, a 123M radio. 1975 redesign, new 2E28M stabilizer, 6X10M loader, multi-fuel engine, 2A46-1 gun and TNPA-65 night vision. 1981 redesign, 2 sets of 6902A smoke grenade launchers, rubber skirts on the suspension instead of the gill protection. 1983 T-64AM, T-64AKM, some tanks were equipped with a 6 TDF engine during maintenance. T-64B-BKB-1K, 1981 redesign, 2 sets of 4902B2 smoke grenade launchers, 2 A26M1 gun. 1983 T-64BM, T-64B1M, T-64BMK and T-64B1MK, some tanks were equipped with a 6 TDF engine during maintenance. 1985 T-64BV, T-64B1V, T-64BVK and T-64B1VK, with contact reactive armor, smoke grenade launchers on the left of the turret. BM Balata Euro T-64 modernization by the Melishov factory in Ukraine. Variants, BMPV-64 a Euro heavy infantry fighting vehicle, based on the chassis of the T-64 but with a completely redesigned hull with a single entry hatch in the rear. Armament consists of a remote-controlled 30mm gun. Combat weight is 34.5 tons. The first prototype was ready in 2005. BTR-V-64 a Euro similar APC version. UMBP-64 a Euro modified version that will serve as the basis for several specialized vehicles, including a fire support vehicle, an ambulance and an air defense vehicle. BMP-TK-64 a Euro. This variant is not tracked but has a new suspension with 4 axles, similar to the Soviet BTR series. The vehicle is powered by a 5 TDF-A/700 engine and has a combat weight of 17.7 tons. It is fitted with the RCWS and can transport 3+8 men. Prototype only. BAT-2 a Euro fast combat engineering vehicle with the engine, lower hull and small road wheel suspension of the T-64. The 40-ton tractor sports a very large, all-axis adjustable V-shaped hydraulic dozer blade at the front, a single soil ripper spike at the rear and a 2-ton crane on the top. The crew compartment holds 8 persons. The highly capable BAT-2 was designed to replace the old T-54/ATT-based BATM, but while PAC allies received only small numbers due to its high price and the old and new vehicles served alongside during the late Cold War. UMR-64, Ukrainian development using surplus T-64s to create a heavy APC-IFV design, which in turn is intended as the basis of a new family of combat and support vehicles. The basic conversion includes moving the engine compartment forward, and at the same time removing the turret and normal crew compartment. This allows the installation of any one of 15 different functional modules, weighing up to 22 tons. One resulting option is the heavy IFV, designated BMP-64E, which combines accommodation for up to 10 troops with a remote weapons system. The heavy APC version is designated the BTR-64E, and can not only carry more troops but comes with large armored double hatches at the rear for rapid loading and disembarkation. Other options include a universal supplies carrier, a highly secure command and staff car with a weight up to 41 tons, and a 120mm mortar carrier. The Kharkiv armor repair plant is behind the project. Current status of the program is unclear as of early 2014. Service history: the T-64 was never used in the Afghanistan War. The 40th Soviet Army that was deployed there only had T-54 55ths and T-62 tanks. The tank remained secret for a long time, the West often confusing it with the less evolved T-72 tank. The T-64 was never exported, and has seen only limited combat experience in the campaigns against Chechen separatists. According to David Isby, the T-64 entered service in 1967 with the 41st Guards Tank Division in the Kiev military district, the suggestion being that this was prudent due to the proximity of the division to the factory, and significant teething problems during induction into service that required constant presence of factory support personnel with the division during acceptance and initial crew and service personnel training on the new type. T-64s belonging to the 59th Guards Motor Rifle Division in Moldova deployed in combat in May 1992, this being the first combat deployment of the tank. The USSR deployed it with its high readiness units, independent tank regiments, and divisions based in the GDR and Hungary, and also in many lower readiness units. In 2014, at least 3 T-64 tanks were observed being operated by separatists in Ukraine. Ukrainian and NATO officials claim these T-64s were supplied to the separatists by Russia. Operators, Democratic Republic of the Congo, a 50 T-64 BV-1 tanks on order from Ukrainian company Ukspisk Sport in February 2014. Donetsk People's Republic, a multiple T-64s in service. Russia has been accused of supplying these tanks to Donetsk forces by the United States Department of State and NATO based on intelligence and satellite imagery of their deployment. Insurgents confirmed they had obtained the tanks, but leaders refused to elaborate on how they acquired them. One militant told reporters they originated from a military warehouse. Konstantin Mishovets, a former Ukrainian Defense Ministry official, said the tanks had likely been seized by Russian forces in Crimea before making their way into mainland Ukraine. Anton Horashenko, an advisor to Arsen Avakov, confirmed at a briefing in Kiev that the tanks were once in the possession of the armed forces of Ukraine in Crimea, and that they had been transferred by sea to Russia before crossing the border into Ukraine. On June 30, Ukrainian forces captured a T-64 BV in Donetsk region, after which the Ministry of Defense verified the serial numbers indicated the tank was issued to the Russian army and part of the 205th Infantry Brigade, which is stationed in the Russian city of Budanovsky. Transnistria, between 10 to 15 T-64 BVs are in service. Ukraine, 2,345 were in service as of 1995, 2,277 as of 2000 and 2,215 as of 2005. Currently, around 600 are in service, 900 plus in storage, and over 100 from those that are in active service are modernized to T-64 BM Balat. Uzbekistan, 100 in service as of 2013. Former operators, a Belarus, unknown number in 1990s. All have been scrapped since. Russia, approximately 4,000 in 1995. Russia has approximately 2,000 which it has phased out of service and are slated for destruction. According to NATO International and the Gen Psaki, multiple unmarked T-64 tanks were deployed from Russia to Ukraine. The Soviet Union passed on to successor states. T-64 BV technical information, capabilities and limitations. The T-64 did not share many of the drawbacks of the T-72, even if it is often confused with it. The automatic loader is hydraulic, not electric, thus is much faster, more reliable, and less sensitive to jolting when running off-road. It also has a sequence fire mode that feeds the gun with shells of the same type in less than 5 seconds. It is also able, in the modern versions, to turn backwards to keep a good speed at the end of the loading sequence. Driving seems much less exhausting for the crew, thanks to assisted controls and a more flexible suspension. The ammunition is stowed at the lower point of the turret shaft, minimizing the risks of destruction by self-detonation. The fire control on the B version is very modern. The tank commander's cupola provides good vision. The anti-aircraft machine gun can be operated from inside the turret. The commander can also control the main gun sight if necessary. Additionally, The adoption of the autoloader was highly controversial for several reasons. Early versions of the autoloader lacked safety features and were dangerous to the tank crews. Limbs could be easily caught in the machinery, leading to horrible injuries and deaths. A sleeve unknowingly snagged on one of the autoloader's moving parts could also drag a crewman into the apparatus upon firing. The turret was poorly configured to allow the human crew to manually load the gun should the autoloader break. In such situations, rate of fire usually slowed to an abysmal 1 round per minute as the gunner fumbles with the awkward task of working around the broken machine to load the gun. While having smaller tank crews is advantageous since more tanks can theoretically be fielded using the same number of soldiers, there are also serious downsides. Tanks require frequent maintenance and refueling, and much of this is physically demanding work that several people must work together to accomplish. Most of the time, these duties are also performed at the end of a long day of operations, when everyone in the tank is exhausted. Having one less crewman for these tasks increases the strain on the remaining 3 men and increases the frequency of botched or skipped maintenance. This problem worsens if the tank's commander is also an officer who must often perform other duties such as higher-level meetings, leaving only 2 men to attend to the tank. All of this means that tanks with 3-man crews are more likely to suffer from performance-degrading human exhaustion, and mechanical failures that take longer to fix and that keep the tank from reaching the battlefield. These problems are exacerbated during prolonged time periods of operations. The T-64 was criticized for being too mechanically complex, which resulted in a high breakdown rate. Problems were worst with the suspension system, which was of an entirely new and advanced design on the tank. Due to these problems, teams of civilian mechanics from the T-64 factories were semi-permanent residents of Soviet tank units early in the T-64's initial adoption phase. The subsidiary of the state company Uksport, the state company Attribution Service, concluded the foreign economic contract for major overhaul and supply of 50 main battle tanks T-64 BV-1. The works will be performed by the state enterprise Kharkiv plant of armored tanks. Dimensions: length, 9.295 meters. Length, 6.54 meters. Breadth, 3.6 m. Height, 2.17 m. Weight, 42.4 tons. Crew, 3 men, commander, driver, gunner, propulsion, engine, 5 DTF multifuel with 5 opposed cylinders, 10 piston, 13.6 L developing 700 HP at 2,800 RPMs, consumption of 170 to 200 liters per 100 km. Transmission, 2 lateral gearboxes with 7 forward and 1 backward gear. 3 internal tanks for a 740 liters fuel capacity, 2 on the mud guards with 140 liters and 2 droppable 200 liters tanks on the aft end of the chassis. Performance: max road speed, 60.5 km/h, max off-road speed, 35 km/h. Power-to-weight ratio, 16.2 horsepower per ton. Range, 500 km, 700 km with additional tanks. Ground pressure, 0.9 kg force per centimeter 2, able to ford in 1.8 am of water without preparation and 5 am with snorkels, crosses a 2.8 am wide trench, crosses a 0.8 am high obstacle, max. Slope 30 degree. Armament, 125 ohm smoothbore 2A46M1 gun with carousel 6x40 loader, 28 shots, fire rate 8 shots per minute, 36 embedded shots, 28 shells. Available shells are all fin-stabilized, anti-personnel version of the 3UOF-36, 3OVF-22, with several perforating abilities, armor-piercing shells 3UBM-17 or 3UBM-19 or older ones with a supplementary charge giving them an initial speed of about 1800 AMS. Hollow charge shells, 3VUK-25 or 3UBK-21. Coaxial machine gun 7.62 ohm PKT with 1,250 rounds, remote-controlled air defense machine gun 12.7 ohm NSVT U2s with 300 rounds. 4+4 or 6+6 81 smoke mortars 902B Toucher 2. Equipment: the 1A-33 fire control system, with radio control of the 9K-112 Cobra missiles launched from the gun. The 2E-28M hydraulic stabilizer, the Gunner Sight 1G42 with embedded laser telemeter. The TPN-1-49-23 active IR night sight. The L2GIR projector left of the gun for illumination. The 1V517 ballistic calculator. The 1B11 anemometric gauge. The tank commander's cupola is equipped with the PKN-4S combined day and night sight, which allows a 360-degree vision and to fire the main weapons. The PZU-6AA sight. The 2Z22 axis electrical stabilizer. The TPN-3-49 or TPN-4 on TVN-4 night vision for the driver. A 173M radio. And CBRN protection, with radiation detectors and global compartment overpressure. 2 snorkels for crossing rivers with a depth up to 5 am. A KMT-6 mine-clearing plow can be fitted at the front. Protection: 3-layer composite armor, with a thickness between 450 and 20 ohm, front 120 ohm steel, 105 ohm glass fiber, 40 ohm steel. Sides, 80 ohm steel. Front of the turret, 150 ohm steel, 150 ohm glass fiber, 40 ohm steel. Lateral rubber skirts protecting the top of the suspension. Contact 1 reactive bricks covering the front and the side of the turret, the glacis, the lateral skirts. See also, List of tanks, List of Soviet tanks, T-80, T-90, T-95, 125 mm smoothbore rounds, tanks of comparable role, performance and era, Chieftain tanker approximate British equivalent, notes. References: ISB, DC 10 million bayonets, Inside the Armies of the Soviet Union, Arms and Armour Press, London. ISBN 978-085368-774-0, Perrott, Brian. Soviet Armour since 1945. London, Blandford Press. ISBN 0-7137-1735-1. Saenko, M., Vu Bytok. Osnovnoj Boevich Tank T-64, Moscow, X-Sprint. ISBN 5-94038-022-0. Sewell, Stephen. A Euro Cook I. A Euro unregistered trademark. A Euro OEY-3 tanks. A Euro in Armour Volume 108, No. 4, PA-21. Fort Knox, Kentucky, U.S. Army Armour Center. ISSN 0004-2420. Zalaga, Stephen, T-64 and T-80, Hong Kong, Concord, ISBN 962-361-031-9. External links: Uxbits on T-64 upgrades, Kampfpanzer T-64, T-64 and Belatet KMDB.